3:42 a.m. The technician stares at her screen. A single dot blinks over the Barents Sea. It shouldn't be there. Not at this hour. Not on this trajectory. Her hand hovers over the alert button. She hesitates for 3 seconds. 3 seconds that change everything. The dot multiplies. 2 becomes 5. 5 becomes 12. The algorithm flags them all. Hostile launch signatures. Infrared blooms consistent with solid rocket fuel. The kind that powers intercontinental ballistic missiles. Her finger presses down. The alarm screams through NORAD headquarters. Across 3 continents, secure phones begin ringing. In that instant, the clock starts ticking. 14 minutes until impact. 14 minutes to decide if humanity survives. The duty officer sprints to her station. He doesn't ask if she's sure. The satellites don't lie. Thermal imaging confirms ignition temperatures exceeding 3,000 degrees. Launch sites confirmed. Plesetsk Cosmodrome. Domborovsky Air Base. Kazalsk. These aren't warning shots. These are Russia's premier strategic missile fields, the ones reserved for first strike scenarios. The officer reaches for the red phone. It connects directly to the Pentagon. 2 rings. A voice answers before the third. Confirms status. The officer's voice cracks. Multiple ICBM launches detected. Trajectory indicates CONUS targets. Confidence level, 97%. Continental United States. The homeland, silence on the other end. Then wake the president. In the White House residence, a Marine knocks twice before entering. The president sits up. Sleep evaporates instantly. The Marine's face tells the story before words form. Sir, possible nuclear launch detected. DEFCON 2 authorized. You're needed in the Situation Room immediately. The president stands. No time for questions. No time for coffee. Just a long walk down the hallway where portraits of past leaders watch him pass. They never faced this. Not really. The Cold War stayed cold. Today the ice breaks. The Situation Room fills within 90 seconds. Joint Chiefs, National Security Advisor, Secretary of Defense, faces illuminated by blue screen light. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs speaks first. His voice carries the weight of every war game scenario ever run. Mr. President, at 0342 hours, our early warning satellites detected 18 ICBM launches from Russian territory. Flight time to impact, 12 minutes remaining. We assess this as a counterforce strike targeting our nuclear triad and command infrastructure. Counterforce. The word hangs in the air like a guillotine blade. Not cities, not yet. But bases, silos, submarine pens, the weapons needed to strike back. The president looks at the screen. Red arcs curve across the Atlantic. Mathematical certainty rendered in vector graphics. Each arc represents megatons of fission and fusion. Each arc ends in American soil. How many warheads? The question sounds absurd. As if the number matters, but it does. Every warhead means choices. We estimate 72 re-entry vehicles. Each missile carries multiple independently targetable warheads, MIRVs. They separate in space and hit different targets. We can't stop them all. The truth lands harder than any bomb. American missile defense wasn't built for this. It was built for rogue states, for North Korea launching 2 or 3 missiles, not for a Russian strategic barrage. The National Security Advisor leans forward. Mr. President, we need to discuss response options. Response. The euphemism sounds clinical, sterile. It means launching American nuclear weapons. It means killing millions of Russians who woke up this morning thinking about breakfast and traffic. What triggered this? The president's question breaks protocol. There's no time for root cause analysis. But he asks anyway. The advisor hesitates. Unclear, sir. Our joint NATO exercise began 4 hours ago. Largest deployment of tactical aircraft since the Cold War. It's possible Moscow misinterpreted the maneuvers as offensive. Preparations? Possible. Maybe. Perhaps. Words that mean nothing when missiles are in flight. The screen updates. 9 minutes to impact. The trajectory lines sharpen. Targets crystallize. Minute Air Force Base. Malmstrom. F.E. Warren. America's ICBM fields. Whiteman Air Force Base. Home to B-2 stealth bombers. Kings Bay Naval Submarine Base, where Ohio-class submarines dock between patrols. The logic becomes clear. Russia isn't trying to end the world. Not yet. They're trying to end the war before it starts, by destroying America's ability to retaliate. A decapitation strike. Cut off the head and the body dies. Recommendations? The president looks at the defense secretary. The man's career spans 4 decades. He's run every scenario, advised 3 presidents. Now he faces the real thing. Sir, we have 3 options. 1. Launch on warning. Get our missiles out before there's hit. 2. Launch under attack. Wait for confirmation of detonations, then respond. 3. Absorb the strike and retaliate with submarines. Each option carries a price. Launch on warning risks starting a war over a false alarm. It's happened before. Computer glitches, sensor errors, sunlight reflecting off clouds. But this isn't a glitch. 18 missiles don't appear by accident. Launch under attack means losing most of America's land-based missiles. Silos don't survive direct hits, even if buried under reinforced concrete. A 500-kiloton warhead doesn't knock politely. It vaporizes everything within 2 miles. Absorb the strike. The phrase sounds passive, weak, but it preserves the submarine fleet. 14 ballistic missile submarines patrol the oceans. Each carries 20 Trident II missiles. Each missile carries multiple warheads. Together they constitute an unstoppable second strike capability. Even if America burns, the submarines survive, hidden beneath polar ice and tropical currents. They can end Russia weeks after Washington becomes a crater. What about NATO? The question comes from the vice president. She's been silent until now. The defense secretary shakes his head. Article 5 applies to conventional attacks. Nuclear is uncharted territory. We're on our own, uncharted. Another word that means humanity is improvising the apocalypse. 7 minutes remaining. The president stands. He walks to the corner of the room, away from the screens, away from the voices. He closes his eyes, thinks of his daughter. She's in college. Boston University. Target list probably includes industrial centers, ports, Boston Harbor. She's dead if this is real, unless it's not real. Unless this is the Norwegian rocket incident all over again. 1995. Russian radar detected a scientific probe. Mistook it for a Trident launch. Boris Yeltsin had the nuclear briefcase opened, finger on the trigger, until someone realized the truth. But this isn't one missile. This is 18. And Norwegian scientists don't launch from Plesetsk. The president returns to the table. Can we communicate with Moscow? The NSA shakes her head. We've tried the hotline. No response. Either they're not answering or the line is compromised. 5 minutes. The Situation Room smells of sweat and fear. Someone's phone buzzes. They ignore it. Civilian communication seems absurd now. What's a text message against nuclear fire? The president looks at the screen again. The red arcs descend. Parabolas tightening toward impact points. Physics doesn't care about diplomacy. If we launch now, how many casualties in Russia? The question surprises everyone. The defense secretary consults his tablet. Immediate deaths, 8 to 12 million. Mostly military personnel and industrial workers near target zones. Long-term deaths from fallout and infrastructure collapse, 30 to 50 million. Numbers that transcend comprehension. 50 million lives. 50 million people who kissed their partners this morning, who complained about the weather, who dreamed of promotions and vacations, gone because of decisions made in rooms like this one. And if we don't launch, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs answers, we lose our silo-based deterrent. Most of our bomber fleet, possibly some submarines if they're in port. Our strategic position collapses. We'd be vulnerable to follow-on strikes. Vulnerable. The word echoes. America, the superpower, reduced to a victim. The president sits down. He places both hands flat on the table. Are we certain this is real? Everyone nods. Satellite telemetry doesn't lie. Infrared signatures match known ICBM profiles. Trajectory analysis confirms ballistic paths. Confidence level, 98%. But not 100. Never 100. 3 minutes. On the screen, green icons appear. American interceptors. Ground-based mid-course defense systems launching from Alaska and California. 44 missiles total. Designed to hit ICBMs in space, but mathematics is cruel. 44 interceptors against 72 warheads, plus decoys, balloons and chaff that mimic re-entry vehicles. The interceptors chase ghosts while real warheads slip through. Estimated intercept success? The president asks. 20 to 30%, comes the reply. Maybe 20 warheads stopped, maybe fewer. The rest get through. 2 minutes. Across the American heartland, silo crews receive preliminary alerts. Launch control centers buried beneath South Dakota prairies. Concrete capsules where 2 officers sit, each with a key, each with orders. They wait for the final code, the authenticated launch order that only the president can authorize. Some crews have been here for decades, running drills, turning keys on command, always knowing it's practice. Today might be different. They don't know about the incoming missiles. They only know their phones are ringing. The president picks up the football, not literally, but he signals to the military aide carrying the briefcase. The aide opens it. Inside, authentication codes, launch options, target packages. The president has rehearsed this. Every president rehearses, but rehearsal assumes time to think, to consult, to pray. He has 90 seconds. The defense secretary speaks quietly. Sir, if we're going to get our missiles out, it has to be now. After impact, we lose communication with the silos. The president's hand shakes. He's not afraid of death. He's afraid of being wrong. 1 minute, the Situation Room goes silent. Every eye on the screen, the red arcs terminate in blinking squares. Impact zones calculated to the meter. Minute, Malmstrom, Warren, Whiteman, Kings, Bay. Peterson Space Force Base, Strategic Command Headquarters in Nebraska. The targets tell a story. Russia wants to win, not annihilate. They're preserving options, leaving cities intact for now, unless America retaliates. Then the second wave launches. Then Moscow targets New York, Los Angeles, Chicago. Then the submarines fire. Then the world ends for real. 30 seconds. The president looks at the chairman. If this is a false alarm and I launch, how long before we can recall? The chairman's face hardens. We can't, sir. Once the missiles fly, they fly. No abort codes. No self-destruct. They're ballistic. We point them and they go. The finality settles like ash. Nuclear weapons aren't drones. They're not precision instruments. They're physics and fury. 15 seconds. The president closes his eyes. He thinks of every movie he's seen, every novel he's read. They always make this moment dramatic, heroic, but there's no heroism here. Only guesswork and terror. 5, 4, 3, 2. The screen flashes white. Not simulation. Real infrared signatures. Detonations over Montana. The first warhead hits Malmstrom Air Force Base. Yield 475 kilotons, 30 times Hiroshima. The fireball expands to 2 miles diameter. Everything inside vaporizes. Concrete, steel, human beings. Gone before nerves can register pain. The pressure wave follows, flattening structures 10 miles out. Windows shatter in Great Falls 40 miles away. The electromagnetic pulse sweeps outward. Power grids collapse across the Northwest. Phones die. Cars stop. The region goes dark. 4 more flashes. Minute, Warren, Whiteman, Kings Bay. Each explosion identical in mechanics, unique in devastation. Thousands of airmen dead. Hundreds of missiles destroyed in silos. Submarines caught in port, hulls cracked by shockwaves. In 12 seconds, America loses half its strategic arsenal. The president stares at the screen. The white blooms fade to orange mushroom clouds. Rising, spreading. Jesus Christ, someone whispers. No one disagrees. The National Security Advisor looks at the president. Sir, we're under attack. We need to respond. Respond, the word again. But now it's not theoretical. American soil burns. American soldiers are dead. The president picks up the authentication card, reads the code. Alpha Tango 7 Niner Golf. The military aide confirms. Authenticated, sir. The defense secretary holds up his tablet. Target package? The president's voice is flat. Empty. Option Delta. Counterforce only. Avoid population centers. Option Delta. Military targets, missile silos, bomber bases, submarine pens. Not Moscow. Not yet. Still trying to keep hell from opening all the way. The order transmits. Encrypted signals race through surviving communication networks. Satellite relays. Undersea cables. Hardened fiber optics. Within seconds, launch control centers receive the code. The keys turn, silo doors blow open. Minuteman 3 missiles ignite. Flames sear the prairie. One by one, they rise. White contrails against the pre-dawn sky. 50 missiles from undamaged silos. Each carrying 3 warheads. 150 city killers arcing east. Flight time to Russia, 28 minutes. In the North Atlantic, a submarine surfaces. Missile hatches open. Trident II missiles burst from the water. 20 missiles. 8 warheads each. 160 more warheads joining the attack. The president watches the screen. Now American arcs curved toward Russia. Red and blue lines crisscrossing the Arctic. A geometry of extinction. The Defense Secretary receives an update. Sir, Russian early warning has detected our launch. Their submarines are going active. We're tracking launch signatures from the Barents Sea. The second wave, Russia's sea-based deterrent. They held it in reserve. Now they unleash it. 16 missiles rise from submarines. Each missile carries 10 warheads. 160 warheads aimed not at bases, but at cities. The equation changes. Counterforce becomes countervalue. Military targets become civilian casualties. The NC's voice cracks. Mr. President, we need to evacuate. We have 18 minutes before Russian SLBMs reach Washington. Submarine-launched ballistic missiles. Shorter flight time than ICBMs. Less warning. The president shakes his head. Where would we go? If this is happening, nowhere is safe. The vice president stands. Sir, continuity of government requires... The president cuts her off. Continuity of what? Look at the screen. This isn't a government anymore. It's a tombstone. The screen updates again. More launches. This time from China. 8 missiles from Heilongjiang province. Why is China launching? The president's question hangs unanswered. Maybe they see an opportunity. Maybe they fear they're next. Maybe someone in Beijing panicked. Doesn't matter. 8 more missiles join the global exchange. Targets unknown. Could be American bases in Guam. Could be Japanese cities. Could be Taiwanese infrastructure. The war metastasizes. Regional conflict becomes global conflagration. 15 minutes since the first Russian launch. American warheads reach apogee, the highest point of their trajectory. 300 miles above Earth. In space, they separate. Single missiles become multiple warheads. Each warhead adjusts its path, maneuvering toward individual targets. The Russian early warning system tracks them all, tries to predict impact points. The math overwhelms the computers. Too many targets. Too many trajectories. Defensive systems activate. S-500 interceptors launch from silos around Moscow. They manage 8 kills. 8 warheads destroyed in space. But 70 reach their targets. Plassetsk Cosmodrome evaporates. Dobrovsky Air Base becomes a crater. Kozelsk vanishes. The explosions mirror the American strikes. Symmetrical destruction. Fair, if fairness means equal death. Russian bombers scramble from surviving bases. 160 strategic bombers race down runways. Some make it airborne. Others die on the tarmac, consumed by secondary warheads. The ones that survive turn west, loaded with cruise missiles. Heading for Europe. NATO air bases. London, Paris, Berlin. The war spreads like cancer. In the Situation Room, someone vomits. The smell cuts through the recycled air. No one acknowledges it. They're all watching the screen, watching the world end in real time. The president stands again, walks to the corner. This time he doesn't come back. He slides down the wall, sits on the floor, head in hands. The chairman looks at the defense secretary. Unspoken question. Who's in charge now? The vice president steps forward. Continue tracking. Update me on all launches. Her voice is steady. Someone has to be. 28 minutes after the first launch, Russian warheads re-enter the atmosphere at Mach 23, wrapped in glowing plasma. America's interceptors fire lasers. Kinetic kills 6 warheads destroyed. The rest hit. New York first. 4 airbursts over Manhattan erase the island in a thermal flash. Los Angeles burns. Chicago collapses. Seattle, Houston, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Miami one by one, cities vanish. In the Situation Room, command unravels. Stratcom is gone. Unified control no longer exists. Nuclear forces fall back on pre-authorized plans. Automated systems detect, calculate, launch. Humans are reduced to witnesses. The machine continues without them. Europe ignites. Russian cruise missiles strike NATO bases. Article 5 activates. British and French submarines launch in response. 60 more warheads streak toward Russia. Mutual assured destruction proves exact. 35 minutes in, every weapon that can launch has launched. The war runs on momentum and protocol alone. Power grids collapse worldwide as electromagnetic pulses cascade across continents. Europe goes dark. Asia follows. Without electricity, modern civilization fails instantly. Radiation clouds rise, merging into continental shadows. Fallout drifts across farmland, suburbs, and cities never targeted. Casualty estimates arrive tens of millions dead in minutes, hundreds of millions more doomed by radiation and starvation. The numbers lose meaning. 50 minutes after the first launch, the missiles stop not by choice, but by exhaustion. 10,000 warheads expended. Silence follows. Final. Irreversible. In the darkness, someone asks what happens next. No one answers. 1 hour after the first launch, Washington collapses. Survivors scramble for basements and subways, but there isn't enough shelter or food. People fight over water. Police try to hold order while racing to find their families. The National Guard mobilizes, then fractures parents choosing children over duty. Across America, the pattern repeats. Cities not directly hit still fail. Power dies. Communication vanishes. Supply chains evaporate. Urban populations overwhelm resources. Rural areas last longer until refugees arrive, millions fleeing the dead cities. Hungry. Armed. There is nowhere to go. Borders close worldwide. Shoot on sight becomes policy. The president asks about the international response. There is none. The UN is silent. New York is ash. Geneva burns. The global order that held for 70 years is gone. What comes next is starvation, then violence. History, if anyone survives to write it, will call this the Great Collapse. Continuity plans activate. Officials retreat to bunkers built for this moment, knowing they are only delaying death. 90 minutes in, the president insists on addressing the nation, though there is no nation left to hear him. A camera rolls. He stares into the lens. "I'm sorry," he says, and walks away. Outside, dawn breaks over a burning continent. Fallout drifts south. Radiation ignores borders. This is how nuclear war ends, not with victory or meaning, but with silence, darkness, and the knowledge that deterrence worked. Until it didn't.